Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we sift through corporate filings so you don't have to. Today we're diving into Kellogg Co's latest quarterly report. It's got all the usual ingredients, sales figures, expenses, and a few surprises that might leave you saying they're not great in the wrong way. We are examining Kellogg Co's financial report for the first 3 months of 2025. Before we start, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below. Let's jump right into the numbers. Looking at the balance sheet, we see that total assets are up slightly, reaching $2 billion compared to $1.96 billion at the end of last year. Accounts receivable, which is the money owed to them, increased to $231 million from $99 million. This might mean they sold more stuff, or maybe they are having a harder time collecting payments. Now for the juicy stuff, sales. Net sales were $663 million. That sounds like a lot, but hold on, because last year they sold $707 million worth of cereal. In the same time period, that's a decrease, folks, a pretty significant one. Okay, so sales are down, but what about the money they spend making the cereal? The cost of goods sold was $474 million last year, so it cost them less to make less, which kind of makes sense. Let's check operating profit. It's a measly $20 million, way down from $46 million last year. This means they made significantly less money from their operations this quarter. What about earnings per share? Basic earnings are only 20 cents per share, down from 38 cents per share last year. You can quickly see that profitability has declined significantly. Time to check the cash flow statement to understand how they are doing. Net cash used in operating activities was negative $2 million compared to a positive $10 million last year. That means instead of making cash from operations, they actually used cash. Not good. Additions to properties, their investments in equipment were way up at $60 million compared to only $9 million last year. So they invested a lot more, but they earned less. To fix that cash issue, they borrowed $50 million, which is something they didn't have to do last year. Moving on to the statement of equity, or the summary of ownership, you can see that they declared dividends of about $14 million or 16.5 cents per share. Other comprehensive income, which includes things like foreign currency adjustments and hedge results, ended up being roughly a loss of $3 million. Now let's dig into some of the notes. First off, the company does have a supplier finance program where suppliers get paid earlier by a third party. Kellogg is obligated for $130 to $132 million of these obligations. Accounts receivable is another area the company is trying to manage closely. They sell some of their unpaid invoices to a third party to get cash faster. As of the end of the quarter, they sold about $322 million in receivables. This gets them cash now, but it also means they are accepting a loss on those receivables to get paid sooner. Remember the news about them closing some facilities? They are still working on this restructuring. They are expecting to spend between $230 and $270 million to consolidate, expecting for these actions to result in cumulative restructuring pre-tax charges. In the first quarter of 2025, the costs were about $14 million. The company's debt picture is interesting as well. They have a credit facility and they used it to borrow additional $50 million in debt now. The tax rate was about 20.8%. They use derivatives, financial instruments, to hedge against market risks for things like interest rates, currencies, and commodities. The total amount they are hedging is about $692 million. It's important to hedge your risk if your goal is a predictable performance. Kellogg operates as a single reportable segment making cereal products in North America. Most of their sales are in the United States, followed by Canada. There is an agreement for the spin-off under the Transition Services Agreement. This is now $4 million that the company is obligated for. Finally, they have the standard disclosure that they are involved in various legal proceedings, but they don't expect any of them to be a big deal. Alright, now let's take a look at the big picture. After carefully looking at this financial report, it paints a mixed picture. On one hand, we see a brand that is working to control costs and manage its supply chain. But on the other hand, they're struggling with declining sales and profitability. The heavy investments that the management team is making into supply chain modernization could eventually pay off, but this is a tough moment. One of the most important factors to watch is their ability to innovate and adapt to changing consumer preferences. They need to find ways to reignite growth in a very competitive market. The biggest risk I see for Kellogg is that they might get stuck in a cycle of cost cutting without finding ways to grow revenues. I will keep watching what's happening. It's too early to have an opinion. The business needs some more time to be assessed. This will probably probably happen in the next quarters. Alright, that's our breakdown of WK Kellogg Co.'s latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.